Okay, so today is Fun Fact Friday with Maria
and Mary. Thank you so much for having me today, Maria.
Sure.
And I'm looking forward to uncovering some of the myths that folks have on the home buying process. And we will be talking about the 4 C's of underwriting over the next 4 segments that we do. Today's C that we're going to discuss is credit. Understanding one's credit score and how it impacts the mortgage application and the home buying process. Maria, what do you think is the lowest or least acceptable credit score one can have to potentially be able to buy a home?
I would say, I don't know, 700.
700? So a lot of lenders use 620 actually as a benchmark, as the lowest score. More government loan programs are going to allow those lower scores and have more flexibility. But we actually can go as low as 580 on a case-by-case basis. Yes. Okay. So it's not a give me, it's not, sure thing, but even with one's credit score potentially being as low as 580, we can potentially work with them. So it's important to understand that as people are focusing on improving their credit, that the top 2 things, 35% of one's credit score is driven based on their payment history. And if they have made a late payment in the last 12 months, their credit score is not going to be as good as somebody who hasn't made a late payment ever or even 5 years ago. Because the further away you get from a derogatory event, the more improvement you're going to see in one's score. Okay. The next highest scores, heaviest weight is 30%. 30% of one score is based on the balance to the credit balance to the limit that they have. So if you're you're maxing out your credit cards, your score is going to be a lot worse. Lower, and if recommended is 30 to 50% of one's limit to maintain that balance.
Okay. So Mary, would you say that people at the end of every month, should they pay off their whole entire bill? Credit card bill?
That's a great question. It's hard to, every person's indications of their credit use is different. And when we run one's credit report, we can run an analysis to actually identify the steps that one would take to improve their credit score. Okay. Paying off balances to zero is not always a good thing. People should maintain their balances, but there's a new thing that they refer to as trended credit, meaning that behind the scenes in our automated underwriting, they're actually tracking people that pay on the 15 days past the due date or 20 days past the due date as opposed to right on the due date. They call those slow payers. Or someone might pay minimum balance only all the time or $50 to $100 over. And it's recommended that you always pay a little more so you're not in that category that could end up being seen as a bit, a little more risky.
That's good to know.
But paying down a card to zero is never going to be a suggestion that we have, and we like to work with the consumer to identify those things before they go off and try to do it on their own. So I'm sure one of the biggest obstacles you might find when you approach a prospective home buyer is they're working on their credit.
Exactly.
And it can be scary to think that somebody is doing this on their own, thinking they know they just got a collection notice or something came in the mail or they just have a lot of debt. But it's great to get in front of a lender first to see exactly where they are. Sometimes it's not as gloom and doom as they think it is. I remember getting out of college and having a lot of debt that I was able to get some credit cards back then, and it really wasn't as bad at the time that ultimately I had my first credit report pulled. I thought it was going to be a lot worse just because I was a slow payer, but it didn't have any negative impact because I hadn't been actually 30 days late.
Okay, so what you're saying is probably people that are renting right now and have been renting for a while, it would be a good idea to contact you or contact me, either one, and I can put you in touch with Mary and look at your credit, because you could be in a house, owning your own house and paying your mortgage versus someone else's.
Right. Paying rent versus paying a mortgage, and the equity that you could start building today is definitely a tremendous opportunity, to start building wealth. If they can if they can get through that application process. So again, we're going to be bringing you fun facts over the next few Fridays, and credit is one of the most important things that people are always interested in, and learning more about that. If you want to have a free credit report run, no obligation, and happy to do so. So you can reach out to us at the contact information below.
Okay. Have a
Thanks.
great Friday. Have a great
TGIF.
weekend.